Good evening, Whitemarsh. I'd like to call our Whitemarsh Township Board of Supervisor meeting for June 10th, 2021 to order, beginning just a moment after 6 p.m. JC, would you like to lead us in the pledge, please?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have a few announcements tonight, and we are going to begin with some proclamations. I am excited to share that we have Lori Schreiber on our call tonight. Hi, Lori.
Let me unmute. Hi, everybody.
Lori Schreiber is our clerk of courts, and I have the honor of reading a proclamation tonight related to Pride Month. We didn't really kind of figure out, Lori, do you want to say a few words first, and then I can read the proclamation?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome, because I know you have another call.
Yeah, we have our meeting in Abington tonight too, so I'm going to hop off after this, but I'm very honored to be invited. I'm very honored to speak in support of Whitemarsh Township's proclamation for Pride Month. So I was first elected in 2005 as an Abington Township Commissioner. And at that time, I was the first openly LGBTQ person to be elected in Montgomery County. Now I'm one of only 2 row officers in the state of Pennsylvania. And during that time, I have seen, and probably all of you have seen, a lot of changes. So when we first adopted our non-discrimination ordinance back in 2012, we had a battle on our hands to have it passed, but we were able to pass it. And since then, Montgomery County actually has more municipalities with non-discrimination ordinances and HRCs than any of the counties in Pennsylvania, I believe. That's still true. So, you know, we've done a lot of good work. This year, we have a record number of flag raisings throughout the county. All the county facilities have flags above them, and other municipalities such as Whitemarsh are also proclamations read. So this is really great stuff that we're doing here. And as your proclamation says, and I know you're about to read it, there's a long history of discrimination throughout the county, throughout the state, throughout the country. And it's so important to show ourselves as a welcoming community. These actions, this visibility can truly help people, especially young people who may feel overwhelmed, who may feel very alone. And so I commend the Board of Supervisors of Whitemarsh for taking this step. Thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you, Lori. I appreciate you taking a few moments to say a few words. So I am excited to read this proclamation for Pride Month 2021. Whereas the LGBTQ+ community is valued and its members are vital contributors to Whitemarsh Township's culture and economy. Whereas the LGBTQ+ community has faced a long history of discrimination, violence, and bullying that continues today. Whereas Whitemarsh Township is dedicated to fostering a diverse community, inclusive to all, regardless of sexual orientation or gender identity, and welcoming and standing with our LGBTQ+ friends, family, colleagues, and neighbors. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Whitemarsh Township Board of Supervisors, do hereby declare the month of June as Pride Month and encourage Township residents to show their pride and support of our LGBTQ+ friends, family, colleagues, and neighbors. Resolved this 10th day of June 2021. Thank you. It's so hard to not like have a clap on Zoom where everybody's muted. So thank you, Lori.
Thank you. I'm sorry to speak and run, but I'm going to go off to another meeting now. So thank you all. Good luck with everything.
Thank you, Lori. Good luck at your meeting. I'm equally excited to read this next proclamation for Juneteenth.
Hey, Laura,
And- yeah.
I'm sorry to cut you off. JL just sent me some highlights of what she was going to talk about if you wanted
Okay.
me to take over. So JL Brown was going to be on to present Juneteenth and our proclamation. And what JL has written here is the history of Juneteenth. On June 19th, 1865, 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, enslaved African Americans in Texas learned of their freedom. Even though the Emancipation Proclamation was made effective in 1863, it could not be implemented in places still under Confederate control. Finally, on June 19th, Juneteenth, roughly 2,000 Union troops arrived in Galveston Bay, Texas, to announce that the more than 250,000 slaves were free. What Juneteenth represents: a day of freedom for African Americans in the United States, a day of celebration of Black excellence in history, a day of celebration of Black culture and progress. The story of Juneteenth has long been kept out of most curriculums, and the acknowledgement of it is an acknowledgement of the erasure of Black history. For example, the Tulsa Race Massacre and Black Wall Street. A celebration and acknowledgement of Juneteenth is both acknowledging the hardships and triumphs of the Black community. Here's what we can do going forward: education, acknowledgement, celebration, actively working to support the Black community, implementing and discussing ways that the aforementioned can become a part of the day-to-day work of Whitemarsh. Thank you.
Thank you, Fran. I'm thrilled. Thank you, JL. Thank
Yeah,
you for
thanks,
taking time for sharing your thoughts, even though you couldn't be here with us right now. It's helpful that you were able to give that to Fran. So our proclamation for Juneteenth 2021 reads, whereas President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation taking effect on January 1st, 1863, and whereas the 13th Amendment was ratified on December 6th, 1863. Whereas the word Emancipation Proclamation was delayed over 2.5 years to June 19th, 1865, in reaching enslaved African Americans in South and Southwestern states and territories. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Whitemarsh Township Board of Supervisors, do hereby declare June 19th, 2021 as Juneteenth, and encourage all township residents to celebrate and reflect upon the significance of African American heritage in our nation and community. Resolved this 10th day of June, 2021. So thank you again for that. And JL, we wish you well. We do have a few announcements tonight. Fran, do you have some that you would like to read first?
I do. First is the closure at the intersection of Flowertown Road and Joshua Road has been extended until June 28th, 2021. The next leg of this project is Joshua Road between Flowertown and Emerson Drive, beginning on June 28th. The William Jeans Memorial Library and Nicholas and Athena Karabat Center for Learning is now open for their full summer hours. There are public computers and study tables available with a limit of 1 person per table. Masks must be worn by all library visitors over the age of 2. Curbside service is still available by appointment for those who need to maintain distance or are unable to wear a mask. The library is about to kick off their summer reading clubs for all ages. So please check the website or visit the library to pick up their calendar of events. On Saturday, June 12th, the Friends will be holding an outdoor book sale from 10 to 1 in the lower parking lot, weather permitting. And this Tuesday night, join the library online and learning about fun things to do in Philly with Eileen Levy Baker, author of 100 Things to Do in Philadelphia Before You Die. Attendees will be entered to win a set of her books. Thank you to everyone who has supported the library during our phased reopening. We look forward to seeing you back at the library. Registration for Citizens Police Academy is open on the Township website. The program runs from mid-September until mid-November and is free to all residents. And finally, join the Parks and Rec Department on Wednesday, June 23rd at 8:45 p.m. in Leland Park for a showing of The Karate Kid. This event is free and activities will begin around 7 p.m. with the movie showing beginning at dusk. Thank you.
Thanks, Fran. It's exciting to have things be returning. So before we get into the rest of our agenda, we do have a couple other things to just briefly touch on. I am aware of a Zoom bombing that happened at our last Shade Tree meeting, and just wanted to get ahead of this and let everybody know that the police were notified and our IT department was notified. So it is being handled. Rick, is there anything else you'd like to share about that?
No, that's correct. We've passed it along. It's an ongoing investigation at this point with the police. We've had our IT folks, make sure that we have all the necessary, malware, spamware, which we all do. Unfortunately, these are, it's similar to like identity theft. Folks that are, on that deep dark web, they can get onto these things. It's not always somebody who's on the meeting. It can just be anybody. They have the ability to get on these meetings. It's happened across the country on various platforms. We were so close to getting to a point where we're back in person, and it was unfortunate that those that were on that meeting had to experience that, apologize for it, and hopefully we don't have to deal with that ever again.
Yep, and it's my understanding that the meeting is rescheduled for next Thursday, June 17th.
That's correct.
Excellent. Which is an interesting segue to the next topic, which is about Zoom meetings and when are we going back on site? I think that fortunately, we're in a position that people are getting vaccinated, things are safer, and there is legislation that is also making things happen faster. Sean, would you like to update us a little bit about what happened today?
Sure. You may remember at the primary election, there were ballot referendums, I believe 4 of them, one of which limited the governor's emergency powers in Act 15, provided there was action by the General Assembly and the State Senate to go ahead and do so. The General Assembly passed a resolution ending the governor's emergency declaration. State Senate concurred today. That will be final, provided that the election results are certified. As you know, Montgomery County has been certified, but the Commonwealth hasn't certified theirs. Once that is done, Act 15 is repealed, and the governor's emergency order is repealed. Thus, what will happen is we're going to have to go back, most municipalities or all municipalities, to in-person meetings because virtual meetings where there is virtual meetings total virtual meetings, I should say, would no longer be lawful. This is a fast developing issue. Hope to get out more clear guidance to the Board of Supervisors soon and to the public, but I anticipate our July meeting will, by law, have to be in person. So,
thank you. And just to remind everybody that as we, at our reorganization meeting, shared that our meetings begin at 7 p.m. Now, with COVID happening and our meetings being through Zoom, the time did change to an earlier time of 6 p.m. So as it sounds that it will be likely we will be back on site for our July 8th meeting, that will revert back to a 7 p.m. time, and that we also besides having it on TV, it's also through YouTube. So you can, if you don't get our TV station through cable, you can access it through the internet, through YouTube as well. But we are still, this is a work in progress. So we are still fine tuning the details about this, not just the Board of Supervisor meeting, but all advisory boards this impacts as well. Okay, any other announcements? No, okay, so we are gonna move to our approval of our minutes. Do I have a motion to adopt the meeting minutes for May 13th, 2021?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you. Now we are going to board public discussion items. Sorry, get my paper here. Do I have a motion to adopt resolution 20? Well, Rick, do you want to
Laura,
just?
can we just start?
Begin
Maybe
it.
if we could just
Yep.
read the review of this first before the board decides to take any action.
Go ahead.
So
Would you
if we
like
could-
to begin this?
Sure, we're going to review SLD 0219, which is the Argos Adelphia Land Associates Polgodom Group. Hopefully I got that right. Longfield Farms, Butler Pike. This is their conditional final plan. And we'll turn it over to Mr. Guttenplan just to make some introductions to the applicant. And then he'll be able to turn it over to the applicant and their team that is on this call this evening. Charlie.
Thank you very much. This is a development that I believe you're all familiar with. This was approved by your board last October as a conditional preliminary plan approval. At that time, it was 58 townhomes and the preservation of one single family home fronting on Butler Pike to be incorporated into the development. The final plan is essentially the same as the preliminary plan with just some tweaks to correct any deficiencies. And so what we're looking at tonight is conditional final plan approval. What I failed to mention, just in case anyone's not familiar with the location, this is along Butler Pike, opposite Phil's Tavern, just behind Water Tower Office Building, near the intersection of Skipback Pike. And this was reviewed at the May 11th Planning Commission meeting, and after short discussion, the Planning Commission made a recommendation for board approval. So again, this is consistent with the preliminary plan, same essential layout, same number of units, etc. And at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Rick Collier with Land Concepts to introduce the project to the board and to introduce his team. Rick?
Good evening. Thank you, Charlie, and good evening, supervisors. Very happy to be here this evening. We have a short presentation for you. In a minute, I'm going to share my screen, my PowerPoint, and we're going to go to that mode as we have in the past. Okay, we are ready to go. And hopefully I didn't mute myself as I did the last meeting and spent the first 2 minutes talking to myself. Anyway, as you all know, we are here for final land development approval. We have been through numerous meetings, as you are well aware, starting with the concept review, then conditional use, and we went through preliminary. At each step, we went to the Planning Commission and we went to the Shade Tree Commission for approval. We have received various letters and we've responded to those comments, and we'll cover that briefly this evening. So this is the team, and by now you probably have this memorized. This is the team that's been together for 3 years working on this, and everyone is here this evening. It's Bob Downs, who's the owner's representative, Caroline Edwards, who is our counsel, Estelle Everhart and Bob Irick from the firm Irick, Everhart, and Mientus. They are the civil engineers and landscape architects. Rick Collier, that's me, and Dave Kavanaugh. We are principals of land concepts, and we have been handling the site planning and a lot of the approval steps, as well as landscape architecture. And then Brian Keaveney, he is with Pannoni Associates, and he is our traffic engineer. So that's the group, and this is a group presentation as necessary. I'm going to lead it, and anyone on the team who has input will speak up when it's appropriate or answer your questions. So Charlie mentioned just a few moments ago that the project is essentially the same as you've seen before. I just wanted to show this site plan to remind everyone about its orientation and what it looks like. You're looking at a site plan that has no other background other than topography on it. The brown rectangles are townhome units. They're in groups of 3 and 4 throughout the community. And as was mentioned by Charlie, 58 of them. That number is the same. And along Butler Pike, just to the left of that gray area, which is the Water Tower office building and its associated parking, is a single family home. That single family home fronts on Butler and will remain in the development and made part of the development. Its access will be changed from a driveway on Butler to an internal access from the internal street system that you see here. We have retained the same amount of open space, which is approximately 45% more than is required under the ordinance. And the density of 58 is approximately half the density that's permitted under the VC4 zoning district. The other thing that I want to point out is the arrow that you see on the far right-hand side, the blue arrow, and that represents a turning movement that did not exist in the preliminary plan. When we went back to seek the HOP from PennDOT, they changed their position in terms of right in, right out only to ask for a left turn from the westbound direction. So now there is a right in and right out, but there is also to be a dedicated lane for a left turn into the development. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But that is really the only change, other than some refinements to the details for stormwater and BMPs, and to satisfy the county for the HOP for the entrance on Butler, and to satisfy the state for the HOP for the entrance on Skippack, plus some issues around the MPDES permit, which we are largely through as well. So that's where we are at this moment. I added also this slide, which includes the landscape. And I hope you'll remember that we were completely compliant with the landscape requirements for buffers and street trees and et cetera. We also were asked during the approval process for 20 additional shade trees, which are to be provided. The location hasn't been specifically stated because we wanted to work those in to the development at the time that the construction is completed, to fill gaps or to provide additional shade on a particular street or parking area that may not have it. So those 20 are a commitment, and they're just not located within this already busy plan, but there is room for those, and they will be added. So I wanted to just quickly go over the plan refinements. Hold on one second. The plan refinements, the left turn lane in from Skippack is westbound. That means going towards Whitpain. It's a PennDOT request and requirement that it be added after we went through preliminary, as I mentioned. We had our traffic engineer who's on this call take a look at what the impact would be, and we found that there would be minor to no impact. There would be 2 morning peak trips in and 6 evening peak trips in. And that would have essentially no impact. It would serve primarily residents of this community who are coming westbound on Skippack and want to get into the community without going to the light at Skippack and Butler, making a left, and then coming in the entrance from Butler. So it serves that group. Of course, the right in and the right out would serve anybody in the community. We've gone through numerous technical revisions to the stormwater management for the township.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Oh, sure.
Will there be a left turn lane on Skippack Pike to make that left?
Yes, there will. And just in a moment, I'm going to show you the configuration of it.
All right, great. Thank you.
Actually, why don't I just do that now, and then we will come back to those other points. So this is looking at Skip-Pack, slightly different orientation. Westbound or Whitpain is to the right, Flowertown to the left, Butler Pike is to the far right of this slide. And in red is shown the striping and the lane that would allow for that left turn. I know you can't read the numbers, but the widths of these turning lanes in the Gore areas are identified on this plan, as well as the legal right-of-way, and identifying that this fits within the legal right-of-way. This has been through a couple of revisions with PennDOT, and probably will go through a little bit more refinement, but this is the basic design for this left turn lane. And why don't I ask Brian, who's our traffic engineer, or Bob Irick, who's been involved in this design, to just describe this a little more fully so everybody understands how it fits in and how it works. The drive that you see there that's labeled Argos Drive is the driveway from Skip-Pack entering the Longfield development. So it's right, obviously, before you get to that entrance. Brian or Bob?
Rick, I can give some information on it. So as you described, the visual here is basically looking south towards our proposed driveway. Traffic from the left is coming, traffic is traveling from left to right that would enter the site. And this left turn lane is proposed in the area where there's currently a portion of a striped median on that segment of the roadway opposite the left turn lane into the CVS driveway. So this left turn lane will mirror that left turn lane and enable traffic traveling towards Butler Pike to simply make the left turn onto Argos Drive. We are still proposing to maintain a right out. So left turns out onto Skip-Pack Pike from Argos Drive will be prohibited.
Will there be any physical barriers in that hashed area, or will any car coming out of the drive that's shown there that's labeled Macadam Drive, will they be able to come out of that drive and make a left?
Yeah, so the markings are shown are pavement markings only. There won't be any physical obstructions proposed.
Okay. If there are any other questions for Brian, we'll take those. And if not, we'll go back to our earlier slide. The second bullet there is we've been going through technical revisions on the stormwater management and have worked through those so that every item is will comply. And a matter of fact, that had been worked out by the time we went to Planning Commission, but some additional refinement has taken place. Your township engineer, Krista, has met with Estelle, our engineer, and with Bob Irick to work out the details of the refinements. And there are no sticking issues that we are aware of, and we've been told that everything looks good to go forward. Krista obviously can confirm that as we get through this presentation. I've mentioned that we've been to PennDOT and we've been to Montgomery County for the HOPs and the approval of those turning lanes, and we're getting to the final point of getting those permits in hand. We've since gotten the formal will serve letters from the Whitemarsh Sewer Authority, from the Ambler Water Department, and from the Ambler Treatment Plant. So the sewage goes to Ambler, and the water comes from the Ambler Water. And the pipes are a part of the Sewer Authority, and we have gotten the will serve letter. We've also had a review letter from the Whitemarsh Sewer Authority, which we received just a few days ago, and we're responding to those. There are no issues there that we can't, a lot of it's just drafting issues. Same with the Water Department in Ambler. And we also have allowed for every unit, each of the 58 units, to have a rear patio if the owner so chooses. And that would be a size of 10 feet by 12 feet. And the reason this is important, while that may sound like a footnote on a big plan like this, we wanted to make sure that we had allowed for any additional stormwater management necessary for that additional impervious coverage. So 120 feet times 58, we've accommodated that in the stormwater design. We didn't discuss those patios in the past, and they've been added as a component of of the development is an option. The other, continuing the other plan improvement refinements are, I mentioned that we're in technical review. Besides the first two, under no issues, we've talked about the MCCD and the MPDES permit. We've gotten a review letter with a number of technical items that are easily, again, worked through. Some of them are drafting errors, and the township engineer has been part of that review as well. And the other two HOPs I've already mentioned. And the Ambler Borough Water Department review letter came on 6/8, and Whitemarsh Township Authority came on 6/4. We've reviewed those carefully. There are no issues, and all the items will comply. So where we stand with the, with just more specifically with the Gilmore letter, which was issued on May 6th, right before the Planning Commission meeting, which had zoning comments in them, is that there were 39 comments. They were in the categories as noted here. Numbers 1 through 9 were zoning. Numbers 10 through 24 were Saldo ordinance comments. Numbers 25 through 28 were grading, erosion, stormwater management, and BMP, best management practices comments. And the last was the comments on the resolution 2004-8. And there were a number of comments, 10 comments on that. And I think you're probably familiar, had to do with providing a fee in lieu of dedicated open space, et cetera. So in red, we can simply say that of the 39, 34 will comply. That includes the traffic review with the agencies we mentioned and no unresolvable issues. The final review of stormwater management is ongoing still, but we're close to being finished with PennDOT and the township engineer. And again, no unresolvable issues are foreseen. The reason that it's 34 instead of 39 is that there are two, number 4 and number 5, are deferrals as offered in the letter to the time of the building permit stage. And 3 are statements that we acknowledge. They're simply statements. They're not comments or questions. They're statements, and we've acknowledged and agree with those statements. We also received the fire marshal's review, which was had an approval with no comments. So that's pretty quick and pretty brief, and it takes us to questions and answers from you and the audience. This is again the site plan if you want to refer to anything, but that concludes our presentation and what we felt we needed to bring you up to speed on since the last meeting and since the Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you, Rick. Appreciate you all taking time tonight to go over the detail again. Are there any board comments, questions right now?
Rick, I'm assuming that the addition of the patios does not have any meaningful impact on the site's overall compliance with impervious limitations.
No, none whatsoever. The small amount has been accommodated in our stormwater management. We didn't have to make major changes in order to do that.
Okay.
Any other board comments, questions? Okay, I'd like to open it to public. And Linda Dahl, would you like to go and ask your safety questions, please?
Yes, I would. Thank you very much. Linda Dahl, Fairway Road. When it comes to traffic, I'm pretty sure everyone knows that when you make a left turn, you have to cross 2 lines of traffic. And it's really hard. I mean, just getting out of the Wives Five Guys parking lot, I'm inching my way to make a left, and you have to kind of stop in the middle and make sure nobody's coming down that other lane. It's really hard to do. A right-hand turn, not so much. People will let you in to a development, but they're not going to let you out. And so this is my concern. There's 2 entrances and exits of this development. One is on Skipbeck and one is on Butler. And I'm not understanding the difference, to tell you the truth, is that I guess the traffic people said that you cannot make a left out on the Skipbeck side because it's too dangerous. You have to cross 2 lines of traffic, but you can make a left into it, which makes sense because people will stop and let you in because you're not slowing them down. They're just letting you in. but nobody's going to let you out to make a left, and it's very dangerous. I understand that. That's wonderful that that's what was decided. But I don't understand how it's any different on the Butler side. On the Butler Pike side, there's just as much traffic, if not more. How are you going to be able to make a left out of there safely? I don't understand that at all. It's the same situation that you're facing on the skip back side. And I actually think it's more dangerous. Somebody's going to have to let you inch your way a little bit, and then you're going to have to, kind of look if anybody's coming past that light to make that left onto Butler. Why is that being allowed?
Rick, would you mind, Collier, bringing up the slide about that might address this more particularly?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's this one or another one.
We have a slide of that intersection or that entrance, and I'd like to go to that and let Brian discuss this. This one on Butler is a fully operational one where you can go in and out. And the one on Skip Back is right in, right out, and a left in only. So they are different in terms of the movements they allow, but the one on Butler is a full movement, and we'll let Brian talk about this a little longer with this diagram, which I think will be helpful.
Certainly, thanks, Rick. So when we evaluated the traffic conditions at both intersection locations, we did take into account the amount of traffic on both Butler Pike and Skip Back Pike and the gaps that occur in traffic. Obviously, during peak hours, traffic's much heavier, and we also have longer queues or stacks of traffic extending from the traffic signal at Skip Back and Butler Pike. And what we found is that the Skip Back Pike driveway would simply be blocked more often for left turns, so we don't want to encourage the left turns over there. The fact of the matter is that the traffic can easily make a right turn on the Butler that would be heading into that destination, so that turn can be accommodated more easily at Butler with a right turn. As far as the left turn to Butler, what we found is that there are adequate gaps in traffic to facilitate the amount of left turn traffic that's destined to the south towards Norristown Road. So there's no reason to restrict it. That is certainly open to review and approval, as Rick mentioned, from Montgomery County. And we have no indication that they think the configuration is unsafe at this stage.
Can I ask a quick follow-up? When was this traffic study done? Was it done during COVID times when there's not really any cars on the road?
No, it was done prior to COVID. I can give you the exact date.
And I'll mention also that this plan and design was reviewed by the township's traffic consultant who agreed with the dimensions and the lengths and how it was set up. So it has been through a technical review on behalf of Whitemarsh Township, and it's going through and has been going through review with Montgomery County. So this has been tested and looked at by a number of professional traffic consultants.
Can you explain what you mean by going through review with Montgomery County? Are you waiting for final determination from them?
Yeah, and Brian, when he comes back after looking for that date, he'll explain where we are. I mean, we've made the submission, we've gotten comments back, we've revised things, sent it back to them. So it's just working out, I believe, some final refinements or details on this as part of the highway occupancy permit that has been applied for. But again, Brian can elaborate because he's had the conversations and I've just heard about them.
That's correct, Rick. I think you summarized it effectively. So we did submit the traffic impact study as well as the concept drawing for the driveway to the county. They did respond with some comments requesting some additional information. But overall, it appears they agreed with the configuration, and we're in the process of developing the more detailed plans for their review, as well as providing some clarifications on what we had included in the study. There is a letter, I don't have it in front of me, we can certainly go through that letter. The study itself was dated January of 2019, and the counts that were collected were I believe in the fall of 2018, and then were adjusted for future growth to accommodate what we had anticipated the build year would be, which is where we are now. So those volumes are pre-COVID and should reflect normal conditions.
Thank you. Deborah?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, can you say your full name?
Deborah Harris, Pilgrim Road. I just have a quick comment. I read the paperwork that you submitted, and under Gilmore's comments, talking about the spillway for Basin 3, it says that the maximum elevation will be at an elevation of 297.26 feet, and the spillway elevation is actually 297.25 feet. I just want to talk about how much I love engineers. I love that precision. And I just thought that was the greatest thing I've seen in a paper in a long time. But I appreciate that kind of precision being done by Gilmore Engineering. My comment, thank you.
Thanks, Deborah. I love the precision as well. Great detail. I believe we had Pat Scheinman next.
Hi, everybody. Pat Scheinman, 999 and 983 Butler Pike. I wanted to speak a little bit about the fee in lieu of situation. It's a big number. Where does that money go? What is that used for, if I may ask?
Thank you, Pat.
Okay, if you want me
Rick,
to, Chair Nestor.
yeah, you want to
Sure,
be the best to get.
that money is free and clear to be used at the board's discretion.
At the board's discretion. Okay. So thank you for that. So the other question that I have, as the person who owns the property directly across the street from this development, directly across, my driveway is right across from the Butler Pike entrance, which will also be the construction entrance. And my understanding is, well, first of all, the detail that was shown on of the road changes on the detail is different from what is shown on the bigger copy of the plan. My understanding is that that's because this went from being a traditional left turn lane to being a basically a center lane, a multi-use center lane, which should, one would think, benefit those of us across the street. And I have been in touch with the folks at Montgomery County, and I believe that it was at my urging that they had recommended these changes be made. So I did want some clarification on that what we're seeing on that detail is closer to the most recent plan submitted to the county. And that lane basically will effectively act as a runway for people who are trying to get to the light to turn left onto Skipback. So those of us who have to use it to turn left to get into our personal driveways are going to be faced with people running up on our asses trying to beat that light. Doesn't sound like a very safe situation to me. And then just in conclusion, the fact that this exorbitant fee in lieu of gets to be used at the board's discretion. And then there are people like me who don't even live in a township who are being greatly affected negatively by this development, by the entrance directly across the street from my property. And that there has been, there's really no accommodation being made for people like me who have to spend upwards of $20,000 to put in a fence to protect myself from what could be 18 months to 2 years worth of construction traffic directly in front of my house. So I think it's wonderful that your township is going to benefit from the, I'll call it generosity of the developer, but it does leave us little people across the street at a loss, literally and figuratively. And that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you, Pat. I believe Sidel Zob had comments. Is she still on the call? I think she had to leave. All right, so I will read her question. I would ask that Rick Collier elaborate on the items that will be addressed during building permit stage. I would also appreciate hearing the details of the fee in lieu and traffic impact fee negotiations. While I might not be in the meeting when the answers are provided, the public deserves to have all these details. I will catch up later. Okay, so we talked about the fee in lieu and traffic. I'm not sure exactly the building permit question.
Yeah, it was directed to me, and I'm not sure either. I mean, we'll go through the normal process of building permits being applied for and issued by the township, by the builder, and all of the other, due diligence that has to happen for the installation of the utilities, et cetera.
Yeah, Rick, I think she was referring to what were the two items that were going to be held off until the building permit stage.
Oh, okay. Maybe we could allow Krista to talk about that because it's in her letter and I'd have to dig through the file, which would take me about 30 seconds maybe, but maybe she can.
I know what, excuse me, there's zoning comments and I actually know what those are because I was participating in that. So I can tell you easily. One had to do with any signage that may be proposed for the development. And the other had to do with final review of the architecture based on the requirements in the village commercial district. And both of those aspects would be reviewed before any building permits are issued.
Thank you. Those are number 4 and 5 in the letter.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you, Charlie. And Bob and Rick. Linda, did you want to circle back at all?
I appreciate that so much, Laura. Not really. I just, I feel for that woman that lives across the street, and I really think this whole fee in lieu, some of it should be given to her. This is terrible what they're doing to her. She's not going to be able to get out of her driveway. This whole traffic study, I'm sorry. The people who do this don't live there. They don't understand how our traffic works in this area. I just, every time I see one of these traffic studies, I just cringe because they just don't get it. So I just hope that the Board of Supervisors takes into consideration her and her situation because she's the one that's going to be affected the most. So thank you for asking, Laura.
Sure. Do we have any other questions at the moment? That's helpful. Thanks. Okay. Seeing and hearing, reading, none. It's a multitask operation here, looking at papers and chat rooms. Do I have a motion to adopt resolution 2021-17 granting conditional final plan approval for subdivision land development 02-19 Argos Associates, Adelphi Associates, Polygondom maybe, a group, Longfield Farm, Butler Pike for the construction of 58 townhomes?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Meller, will you please call the roll?
Mr. McCusker,
Yes.
Ms. Toll,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Mr. Drosner,
Yes.
Chair Nestor.
Yes. Thank you. That is approved. We look forward to working with you all on the next phase.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay, moving down our agenda to motions. Do I have a motion to approve the easement agreement between Green Valley Country Club and Whitemarsh Township to allow the installation of a new township sign on the corner of Joshua Road and Germantown Pike?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Miller?
Thank you, Chair Nestor. This is an easement agreement between Green Valley Country Club and Whitemarsh Township, and it's to allow the relocation of the township informational sign that was previously on the corner that is now in the occupied area of the Veterans Monument of Joshua Road and Germantown Pike. This will be on the immediate corner adjacent to the Veterans Monument. It requires that the township's responsible for erecting, maintaining the sign, the surrounding landscape. As of right now, we're working with a sign company on some design options for a sign at that corner. It will be, we are proposing a digital sign. We do know that at this point for that corner. The Parks and Recreation Department handles all of the requests for information to go up there on those signs. That will still continue as we move forward with this. We certainly appreciate the coordination with the Veterans Monument Committee, as they've been able to help coordinate with Green Valley Country Club per our agreement in getting this to this point for the board's consideration. Also, Green Valley Country Club in allowing us to utilize a portion of their property for this use, which many people have grown accustomed to getting various events and other township related information from that sign. So we're excited that we'll be able to continue to do that. We anticipate that this would probably be erected sometime in the fall at this point. As mentioned, we'll continue to go through design options with various sign companies.
Thank you, Rick. I'm super excited to have a digital sign that we can use for all kinds of purposes, not just on community events, but emergencies. You know, I think it is going to be great. Do we have any board comment? Any public comment? Seeing none, all those.
Wait. I'm going to just public comment. Thank you very much, Linda Dahl. Thank you so much.
Sorry.
I really want that sign again. So thank you so much for doing all this work and getting it there. I just really appreciate it because I keep looking there for that sign and what's happening in the township, and it's not there anymore. So I can't wait till it happens. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Linda. Anybody else? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on, do I have a motion to approve the sidewalk and maintenance agreement between Montgomery County and Whitemarsh Township between Crescent Avenue and Manor Road?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Miller?
Thank you, Chair Nestor. We have this and the next agreement are between Whitemarsh Township and Montgomery County, and it's related to the Ridge Pike widening project that is between Crescent Avenue, and it's actually all the way to Northwestern in Springfield. What obviously we're only considering what is in Whitemarsh, but this part of the project will go all the way to Northwestern, which borders the city of Philadelphia and is in Springfield Township. The Ridge Pike is a county-owned and maintained roadway. This plan has been several years in the making as they look to widen that area. Folks that have driven there during heavy volume and peak times know that it is a bit of a bottleneck, and they are getting closer and closer to that construction phase. At this point, it appears that it would probably be the 2022 construction season when they would start that project. They are still acquiring right away necessary in order to get to the bidding point of it. These agreements, they're meant to transfer the ownership from the county, in this case, the sidewalks, over to the township. As part of the second-class township code, in our code, we would further require that adjacent property owners would be responsible for the maintenance of sidewalks as they are currently in any other township development or on township roads or county or state roads. Very standard PennDOT agreements. We were able to work with the county, since there is no federal funding for this part, that we were able to put in some other reasonable protocols that favor the township. So this is something that is required, and it just, I think, goes to show that we're getting closer to the point of construction for this phase of the project.
Thank you. Yeah, it'll be awesome to have this be done. Probably not awesome to have it in process.
Now, there's more to come. I don't have details on that, so I'll preempt any questions. I really don't have, construction details or phasing details or anything. Those will, the county will have to release that at some point. We've been meeting with them basically every other month for several years now on this project. So it's looking like it's getting closer to fruition. And right now, their timeline is the 2022 construction season to start.
Very good. Thank you. Any board comment? Any public comment? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the roadway lighting agreement between Montgomery County and Whitemarsh Township between Crescent Avenue and Manor Road?
So moved.
Second.
Rick, ditto?
It is this, in particular to this agreement, the roadway lighting, it covers the fixtures being added. There's going to be a replacement signal pole at Harts and Church and Ridge, and there will be a new traffic signal at Barron Hill Road and Ridge Pike. We will take responsibility of the maintenance and upkeep as we do for all other traffic signals in the township.
Very good. Any board comment? Any public comment? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the appointment of the following individuals to boards and commissions? Kristen, I guess I didn't have to read it that way. Do I have a motion to approve Kristen Vandergriff for Open Space Commission, term ending December 31st, 2022?
So moved.
Second.
Excellent. I don't see Kristen on the call, but I have been in touch with her. She has visited an open space meeting. The chair of the committee, Steve Kaufman, is aware that she is interested in joining and excited to have another woman on the open space board. Do we have any board comments or questions? Any public comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Do I welcome Kristen, by the way? Do I have a motion to approve a hold harmless agreement for a sign in the ultimate right of way at 3038 Butler Pike?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Charlie? Charlie, you are muted.
Charlie, you're on mute. We missed
Sorry.
everything you said.
My apologies. Thank you. This is a sign at Bob's Auto Parts on Butler Pike. You're probably pretty familiar with this facility. On the left-hand side of this picture, you'll see an old sign between two poles. Those two poles are proposed to be reused for a new sign, and that those poles and that entire sign are in the ultimate right of way of Butler Pike. There's never been a hold harmless or waiver of damage rights for this sign in the past. So when they came in originally 3 years ago to consider upgrading the sign, we had talked about a hold harmless agreement. The police traffic safety unit had gone out and taken a look at this and said there was no issue with it. And I've reconnected with Chief Ward on this, and he says that that assessment is still valid. So this is what they are proposing to do on the sign. Again, on the left, this is what's there right now. And this is what is proposed for those poles on the right-hand side. The lower portion that is indicated as not included is potentially a second sign that is not proposed at this time. That would require a zoning hearing board approval. This sign for Bob's Auto Parts does not require zoning approval. This is a sign that is permitted by the ordinance. And these two black poles represent these existing poles that they would be wrapping in aluminum to improve the appearance, but everything will stay exactly in the same location, and therefore a hold harmless agreement is necessary. And again, based on the police's assessment, staff is recommending the approval of this agreement.
Thanks, Charlie. Any board comment or questions? Any public comment? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Excellent, motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve a hold harmless agreement for a fence and a gate in the ultimate right-of-way at 5552 Bethlehem Pike?
So moved.
Second.
Charlie, all you.
Okay, this is just the indication of the location of the property. This is Bethlehem Pike. This is the Turnpike Bridge crossing it. So this is half a dozen or 8 properties south of the Turnpike Bridge on the west side of Bethlehem Pike. This is a site plan of what we're requesting a hold harmless agreement for. The yellow highlighted areas indicate fencing and some wing walls with pillars and an electric gate to go across the driveway. Currently, along Bethlehem Pike, there is a 6-foot fence, and in the same location, the applicant is proposing a 4-foot fence and these additional walls and gate, all of which are in the ultimate right-of-way. This is a picture of what's there now. If you can get an idea, here's the existing fence, which is currently 6 feet, which will be reduced to 4 feet. Here is the driveway entrance where there will be wing walls and further back an electric gate. This is a conceptual view of what the wing walls will look like. Krista, as township engineer, has gone out and taken a look at this location, and she has written a memo which is attached to your packet indicating that there will be adequate site distance and therefore recommending a hold harmless agreement be approved. The original fence, like the sign we just looked at, never had a hold harmless agreement or a waiver of damage rights. So we are trying to catch up before the new fence and the wing walls are installed. So based on Krista's review, staff is recommending approval of this hold harmless agreement as well.
Thank you, Charlie. And did you mention like the visibility, it really doesn't impact visibility along Bethlehem?
That's correct. And the only recommendation was that a Knox box be installed on the gate so that in an event of an emergency, police, fire, or ambulance can get in, and the applicant is aware of that and has no problem with that.
Excellent. Any board comments? Any public comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Great, motion carries.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Do I have a motion to authorize escrow release number 4 for Maple Hill, Catherine Lane in the amount of $20,000?
So moved.
Second.
Krista?
Hello, this is the 21 single-family unit development on Catherine Lane, which is off of Spring Mill Road. The applicant or the developer has requested release of final escrow in the amount of $20,000. We've inspected the request and found the improvements to have been installed per plan and are recommending release of escrow in the amount of $20,000.
Excellent. And how much did you say, are there any, this isn't final?
This is final.
This
Yep.
is final.
Mhm.
Any board comments? Any public comments? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you. Motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve expenditures totaling $1,198,980.63 and payroll totaling $693,387.57 and pension paid costs totaling $5,378.43 for May 2021?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments, public or board or public? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. Do I have a motion to amend the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the certificate of appropriateness for the installation of a patio at 7 Catherine Lane?
So moved.
Second.
And these are a couple that we're going to hear tonight related to the HARB meeting that happened yesterday. So this is the first one. Charlie, would you like to take this?
Yes. This is the same development you just approved the escrow release for. This is the location of 7 Catherine Lane within the Maple Hill development. And like a number of other homeowners in this development whose certificates of appropriateness you've approved recently, the owner here is proposing a patio to the rear of his property. This gives you a slightly better idea. Catherine Lane is down here. The home is here.
Charlie, there's nothing on the screen.
You're not seeing this?
We are not.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
Hang on 1 second, please. Oh, you seeing things now?
Yes.
Okay, I apologize. Okay. Again, very quickly, here's the location of the home within the Maple Hill development. The patio is to the rear of the house. Here's the patio. Here's the home. Catherine Lane's down here. This is an outline of what it would look like in reverse. Again, this is the back of the home, and this is the 35 by 25-foot patio that is being proposed to the rear. It's a paver patio, very similar to some of the other ones that have been approved. HARB felt that there were no issues. It was behind the home, and it's consistent with many of the others in the neighborhood, and HARB recommended approval of the certificate of appropriateness.
Thank you, Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
Any board comment? Any public comment? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you. Motion carries. And Charlie, you can keep your screen up there. Do I have a motion to approve the certificate of appropriateness for a new garage facade at 3023 Terra Court?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. This is very nearby the one we just looked at. Here is the property that we're talking about on Tara Court. This is Spring Mill Road. Catherine Lane, where we just were, is immediately adjacent to it. What this property owner is proposing to do is to create an in-law suite in his home. And as to do that, part of the interior renovations include utilizing what is now a 2-car side entry garage, and that will be incorporated into the in-law suite. So currently, this is what the side facade looks like with the 2 garage doors. These garage doors will disappear. It will no longer be a garage. It'll be part of the in-law suite. And this is a conceptual drawing of what the applicant is proposing. This wall will be finished in white stucco, the same as the existing house. There will be 1 window in this location and 1 entry door consistent with the rest of the home. Harb saw this also having no issues, this being on the side of the house. It didn't affect the front facade of the house in any way, and Harb unanimously recommended approval of this certificate of appropriateness as well.
Wonderful. Thank you. Do we have any board comment? Any public comment? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the joint intermunicipal cooperation agreement for water waste treatment between Ambler Borough and Whitemarsh Township?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Chair Nestor. This is an agreement between Ambler Borough and Whitemarsh Township for wastewater. Although that we have a standalone wastewater, we have a standalone authority, the original amendment and cooperation agreement were signed by the township, and the township still regulates a wastewater. So Ambler Borough asked that the township be the one to execute this agreement. This was reviewed by the authority solicitor. It was also reviewed by our solicitor's office. There was really no changes, and it addresses all the wastewater. Those that have their wastewater in the eastern part of the township that flows to Ambler will continue to have that moving forward. So it was reviewed, and we are recommending its approval.
Thank you. Do we have any board questions or comments? Any public comments? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Wonderful, motion carries. Do I have a motion to issue a notice of intent to award the MECO Constructors Incorporated for the base bid of $899,619 for Westaway Stormwater Project?
So moved.
Second.
Either Chris, maybe Krista on this one.
Yeah, I can take it. This project is for a stormwater infrastructure system along Westaway Drive from Fields Drive to Germantown Pike and up Fox Lane, which is the little stub street that terminates along Whitemarsh Woods. It would collect water from a large area, particularly from the Fox Lane Basin that right now outlets right onto the street, and then all the water from Germantown Pike, and then as well the new development there along Westaway Drive. On Tuesday, June 8th, we received and publicly opened bids. We had 7 bidders, and the lowest apparent responsible bidder is MECO Constructors for $899,619. And we are recommending that the board authorize the issuance of a notice of intent to award.
Thank you, Krista.
If,
You're welcome.
Nestor, if I could just add on
Yes.
to this, just from the financing standpoint, this is something that is in our capital improvement plan. The amount that we had in our capital improvement plan is less than the amount that this bid came in at. A lot of that working against us is kind of the current markets. The market for plastic right now is extremely bare, and it is, the cost of plastic is really can be upwards of 3 times. I think a lot of people have heard about the cost of lumber and different things that are increasing in today's market, and plastic is one of those, and that's the plastic pipe that would go in the ground. So the money that was being used for this was from our bond issue for the intersection improvements, the majority of which will cover this. The remaining amount, in reviewing this with Krista, as well as our finance director, Kevin Barron, we are proposing that that money come from the American Rescue Plan monies that we will be receiving. Wastewater is one of the permitted uses of that money from the federal government and through the guidelines of the U.S. Treasury Department. So that will help us cover the remaining amount. You know, we don't feel, in talking to Krista, that going back and rebidding this, you might save a little bit of money if we try to use something other than plastic. But ultimately, we think that's what's best, and we want to make sure that we're not cutting any corners as we move forward in this project. And we do have another source of money to fund the project. So I just wanted the board to be aware of that. If anybody would, look at the amount that was in the capital improvement plan and, wonder where that difference was coming from, that's what staff is recommending the difference come from in order to move this project forward.
Thanks, Rick. And, I am sensitive to the importance of this particular project and the time it takes to bid and go through the whole process, and how we need to help this area with stormwater as soon as possible. And do we need to, as far as the allocation of funds, coming from the rescue plan, is there anything else we need to do to make that clear that it's coming from that?
I'm sure we're probably going to have to do something. I don't know that we necessarily need to do it tonight. I think it's just that that's where the funds are going to come from. We'll look at it. We just actually, Kevin made our application to Pennsylvania. So it's coming from the Department of Conservation, no, DCED, Community and Economic Development. So we made our application so that we can receive the first half of those funds. We'll take a look at what requirements, as they are really, it's like every week there's another webinar about how the requirements for this money. So we'll take a look at that. And if there is some kind of resolution, or there has to be an adjustment as part of the budget process, we can do that. We can come back to you with that information.
Excellent.
Rick, how much was in the capital plan for this project?
I believe it was
80,000.
It was 750, wasn't it?
780,000.
780.
And
was close.
That's for the base bid and the alternate?
For the base bid.
Just
Just
for the base bid.
And the rescue plan funds will be used solely to make up the difference?
Yes, the Whitemarsh Township is receiving 1.9 million in rescue funds. So a portion of that, let's, for round numbers, 120,000 would be used for the difference.
Are we limited to using it only for the difference?
No, we're not. We could use it. We could use the whole thing for it. It's a permitted use of the money. The one thing that I will say in us trying to spend down the bond is there is certain timeframes in which we must spend the bond money. Otherwise, we can get into what's known as negative arbitrage, where we're then owing some money back. So that was the whole reason when we went through the capital budget and looking for the allocation for this, we felt it was most appropriate to use bond money so that we wouldn't get in any of those situations.
Understood.
No, it's helpful to have this conversation. Any other questions or comments from the board?
I think there's a lot of residents and our neighbors on Westaway Drive and Westaway Farms are going to be very happy to hear that this has been allocated and construction will begin on that pipe. So anyway, thank you for everybody involved. Thanks, Krista, for getting this done urgently.
Absolutely.
Krista, about how long will it take to get shoveled in the ground?
To get shovel in the ground, well, we need to go through the 30-day responsible contractor review period, so probably in July.
And Krista, how long do you anticipate this project will take?
We have a contract time period of 180 days.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
Great. Thank you all. Good conversation. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. Yay. Thank you, Krista.
You're welcome.
That ends the agenda items. We are now moving into our public comment period. Do we have any public comment? Michelle Laverty, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Hello, my name is Michelle Laverty. I reside at 700 Cherrydale Drive at Harts Lane with my family. My husband and I, we've been residents of and homeowners in Whitemarsh for about 20 years now. Today, I'd like to address the issues we have on Harts Lane. It's not news that this portion of the road has its problems. Over the years, police have responded to our concerns about speeding and motorists driving past our son's bus when it was stopped. It gave us a lot of comfort to see an officer outside of our house surveying speed infringements. Responses were simple, gracious, and appropriately addressed. 2.5 years ago, we noticed motorists were confused about where to travel on the lane. More and more, we witnessed potential head-on collisions. My husband repeatedly reached out to the police and the Public Works Department about the issue. We were told that it was being worked on. Then my husband was nearly hit on Harts Lane. During this time, pavement markings were worn and invisible. There's no record of the last time general maintenance of markings were done. Refreshing the markings would have been a simple first step to managing confused motorists. After years of driving, misguided without markings, the township responded and put a solution in place. This includes rumble strips along a residential road. Please note, motorists are still confused and driving on the rumble strips for a long duration of time. This is creating a considerable problem for our family and neighbors. Our house is 87 feet from the road. Our bedrooms and my workspace face Harts Lane. Preliminary decibel readings are high enough that a professional noted we need hearing protection within our home. These disruptions happen throughout the day and evening. It's not uncommon that we will be woken by a motorist along the strips within an hour of going to bed. We are frequently woken by the same noise between 4 and 5 a.m. It's hard to focus on my professional work during the day with the erratic noise disruptions. On the weekends, while we are working in and around our house, it sounds like an expressway. There's nowhere on our property that we can rest from this erratic and persistent disruption. We have been enduring these conditions since December, and we're exhausted, extremely exhausted. For our family and our neighbors, Whitemarsh is now far from being a great place to live and work. At this time, 30 local residents have signed a petition to have the rumble strips eliminated from Harts Lane. Everyone is concerned about the safety. However, the impact to their quality of life has been too great to sustain the current design. It's my understanding that the 2021 road program includes work to the remaining portion of Harts Lane. While contractors are mobilized, it would be ideal to resolve this issue and remove the noise disturbance with the rumble strips. I have been in communication with the township over the noise for 3 months, as well as my husband has. Laura Boyle-Nestor and Rick Meller have told me that the township is still assessing the situation. We expect a definitive response on or before Friday, June 18th, so that we can take appropriate actions. Please know that these conditions are not livable. Please accept my comments and the petition. Our family appreciates being part of the Whitemarsh community. We hope that the township management and the Board of Supervisors will do the right thing to make conditions livable in our home and neighborhood again. Thank you. And for a visual, I have at least 30 signatures with more promised. And these are all signatures from local neighbors in the direct area.
Thank you, Michelle. Are there any other public comments related to this?
I'm not sure. I do believe Don Norbeck has sent you a letter.
Yeah, I'd like to second Michelle's concerns and reactions to the noise related to the rumple strips. Certainly, we don't disagree with any remediation attempts on public safety, but just the sheer number of transverses of the rumple strips on this set of road, that little bit of road, should indicate some of the challenges and some of the ongoing misuse of the road or confusion created by the road design. I mean, people go over it, multiple times a day, multiple times in the evening. That's just showing that there's a challenge with the road design that encourages people to transverse the center line.
Thank you, Donald. Do we have any other public comments? Rick, would you like to just give an update on where we are? Because I know, or Krista, I know there are some activities happening.
You want to jump in?
Yeah, go ahead, Krista, you can start.
Sure. Yes. So as part of the 2021 road program, what we do know and have noticed out there is that there's an existing stormwater inlet grate right in the travel lane that it appears that vehicles are swerving around to avoid and thus hitting the rumble strips. So that we know can be an easy fix that is already incorporated into the 2021 road program. And then beyond that, we, many of us have met with the Lavertys and are open to looking into ways to improve this. The rumble strips are a safety measure, so it's something that has to be carefully considered, but we've communicated thus with the Lavertys and are open to whatever we can do that keeps people safe.
And maybe I can have the chief comment, from a traffic safety standpoint and his unit that has been involved in this matter.
The police department has received over the years numerous complaints about traffic on Harts Lane between Ridge and Barron Hill, and we've gone out and studied it. And in our traffic safety unit has worked with Krista in the engineering department to come up with the safest and most modern road repair that we can, based on the complaints that we had and the dangers that were observed out there. We place these measures in place, and we're constantly evaluating the roadways, not only in this area, but throughout the township. I know that the township manager and the engineer have spoken with, and we keep our traffic safety officers aware of the situation and observing this situation, and have been involved in figuring out the next steps. I can say that the complaints for people driving on the wrong side of the road have almost completely stopped. The complaints that we were received, and the traffic movement in that intersection, that area has been improved. So from a safety standpoint, we've made an improvement to the area. And as I said, we're working with the engineer's office and the manager's office on next steps and future plans.
And then the final comment that I'll make to this is, as I've indicated to Mrs. Lafferty, both verbally and via email, is that we would look at this as part of our 2021 road program, as Ms. Heinrich alluded to. And if there is improvements based on the concerns, related to that, and there's ways that we can improve it and not impact the safety of the roadway, then those are things that the professionals, the staff professionals would take a look at and make recommendations to, so that if there is an improvement that could be made, we could make that improvement. So that is still something that is certainly on the table.
And I can say that no rumble strips are proposed in the portion from Cherrydale to Ridge that is part of this year's road program.
I'd like to respond to the chief's comments about no reports since the work has been installed and upgraded. As I noted earlier, we have not had visible road stripes on Harts Lane for several years. We do now, in addition to the rumble strips. A simple road striping, pavement marking would have solved this problem. It would have at least been a first step. Again, the neighborhood is really being put out. I can't tell you, explain the stress that our family is under with the noise that is going on. It is extremely unnerving. I appreciate that no more rumble strips will be put into the next portion, but I have to tell you, our house, it's not livable here. And I really would like to know by June 18th, whether or not the 2021 program will include removing rumble strips from the existing portion. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comments tonight? Do we have any board comments tonight? I'd like to announce that we did have an executive session prior to this meeting where we discussed real estate litigation and personnel. And I think that brings us to adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Good night, Whitemarsh. We thank you and wish you a wonderful evening.
Thank you.